When the Turkish army started getting defeated by the Russian army, they started retreating, and while retreating in frustration and just their anger, they killed thousands and lakhs of Armenian Christians in eastern Turkey, in the heartland of western Armenia. Van is a great city still in eastern Turkey, one of the greatest cities of Turkey, and it was a great center of Armenian Christians. An ancient core of Armenian Christians and their priests lived there. Within a span of 1 or 2 years, when the retreating Turkish armies went from there, they killed every single person, Armenian Christian, in Van. With the result that after 2 or 3 years, there were, somebody counted, when Russian army came, they found corpses of around 55,000 Armenian Christians, and only 10, in exact number, only 10 Armenian Christians were left when they found. This is in records. So these massacres had started happening. Their modus operandi was, they did not want to lose the properties of Armenian Christians. So they acquired various agendas, various modes to do this. They would invite common Kurdish Muslims and other Muslim tribes from Caucasus. They would invite them that we will pay you to occupy the houses of Armenian Christians, start living there. And the government would pay them. They would directly kill Armenian Christians, and whenever it was not possible, they would actually take the help of Muslim tribes from all around Turkey at that time. They invited them so they could come over and occupy these villages and their houses, because they did not want to waste resources of Armenian Christians by killing them, but saving their resources. And this modus operandi, it got very famous and very successful also. They were encouraged, even local population was encouraged to occupy these lands, which they did very readily. The irony is that the organization which actually oversaw the genocide of Armenian Christians was called Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, which was actually a branch of Young Turks. And look at the name, Committee of Union and Progress. It is this very modern, secular, progressive committee which oversaw the genocide of all these Armenian Christians. Now, what did they do? They said that it's in the records that we will not tolerate Armenian minorities more than 5% in any place, and how to eliminate them in any way possible. So wherever there were 15% in eastern Turkey to 20%, there were great eliminations, great massacres. But their favorite way was, they just told them to march towards that desert, towards Syrian desert. Where to go, there was no information. Just march towards Syrian desert, because we are creating a pure Turkish homeland. And there was, of course, no choice in this. The Muslim males and females and children would be forced to march for hundreds of kilometers in scorching desert without any food and water. And of course, they would one by one drop off of sheer exhaustion. Whenever somebody dropped, they would shoot them in the head, whether it was a male, female, or a child. And they even shot their relatives if they stopped for them. So people started dying one after another. Sometimes they were marched through isolated valleys in eastern Turkey, and they would be pushed off a cliff, just like buffaloes were massacred in America when the colonizers reached there, by pushing them off cliffs. These Armenian Christians, they were marched off to remote mountains and valleys and pushed off cliffs, pushed into rivers, pushed in lakes, drowned in lakes, and according to some records, sometimes a rope was tied around two Armenian Christians, so that to save rope and to not let them swim, and they would be drowned in a well or a river. So many Armenian Christians died that the entire highways, it is said, in those times were lined by continuous corpses, stinking corpses of Armenian Christians, who would just drop down and then they would be just sidelined on the pathway. There were many brutalities. You can find all this. This is so public that you can even find this on Wikipedia, all of this information. When they would start marching, these Armenian Christians, there were many tropes. They would say that Turkish gendarmes would accompany you for a protection money. So they were said that they could be protected from whom? From themselves, from the Turkish Muslim powers, but they could be protected if they paid a money. Very few could pay. They knew that they had taken everything from these Armenian Christians. Very few could pay. And whoever did not, the males were killed right there. The women and children would be forced to march to desert, where they would be raped, and all sorts of atrocities would happen. If you see the geography of that region, all the small rivers, they all flow into two mightiest of rivers of that region, of Fertile Crescent and Middle East, Euphrates and Tigris. So many corpses, millions, so many corpses of Armenian Christians were dumped in these rivers that at various places downstream, 500 kilometers downstream in Iraq, the corpses of Armenian Christians would block Euphrates and Tigris, block the entire flow. And they would be blasted with dynamite to make the river run again. At various places, the rivers would run completely red with blood. Even after all of this, some corpses would made whole and they would reach Persian Gulf, 2000 kilometers away. This is how many Christians were just killed and dumped.